Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cooking with Big Mark.
Good day, folks. We're sitting here today in February with a temperature outside 66 degrees, which is kind of crazy. However, it's going to drop tonight 30 degrees, and we're expecting almost 8 to 10 inches of snow on Friday. So good old New England, it's the world, I guess, now the United States, everywhere now. This climatic changes are so quick and great. Today, we're going to talk about eggs and leftovers. You wonder what that's kind of a weird combination, but there is a nexus between them, and I will get into that later on. One of the things with eggs, I was watching a show on Netflix called Secrets of a Cruise Ship. And it's actually you couldn't pay me for love the money to go on one of those cruise ships. But how they run and the mechanics and the self-contained technology that they have to exist for 2 weeks on the ocean, disposing of waste, food, cooking, changing everything, laundry. It's amazing. One of the things that came up, the guy was talking about preparing for food. He says, we use about 20,000 eggs a day.
A day?
A day on shipboard. Now, this thing holds 6,000 people. So that's not, too big a stretch. If people have breakfast, they might have 1 or 2 eggs, but then you get eggs used in baking and, on all the other reasons for sauces and stuff. So it's not too beyond the realm. Anyway, eggs have sort of gone through a change. It had they talk about the fat. It contains about 213 megagrams of cholesterol. And back when they thought that cholesterol was a big problem with heart trouble, eggs really took a turn for the worse. Don't eat them. Finally, after 25 years of study by the American Heart Association, they came out and found out that that is not the cholesterol that is causing problems. And what the problem is saturated fats. And so now the eggs have sort of had a renaissance, and people are getting back to eating, although I don't think, really, to be honest with you, really ever changed that much. So it's right now it has some amount of fat to it, about 75 calories, and but it's got a lot of vitamins, and it's something self-contained that can be, for breakfast or whatever you're going to do. It's something that start off a day, and it's a great food. It contains vitamins, and everybody does do that because it's so easy to use. Kids don't mind them when you're trying to feed them when they're young. So it just brings on a whole new thing. And they now have what they call designer eggs. For example, if hens are only fed vegetables, grass thing, but no meat, they can now peddle those as vegetarian eggs. And if they would have all organic, fed organic foods, that would be a way that the hens lay organic eggs. So those are what they call designer eggs. And I guess that there are some other variations of it. But it's a very satisfying source of protein. And I think, if you have a very high cholesterol level, you probably want to be careful not eating too many of them. But that brings us to the next part we mentioned is leftovers. And the big thing is don't throw away those leftovers, take care of them. How many times have people gone into their refrigerator and finally bent down low enough to find something and said, oh, had no idea I had that back there. You get something lost in the refrigerator, especially for older people like me, trying to bend way down and look on the bottom 2 shelves. It can be tough. You might as well fall over, but you've got to be careful. One way I solve that, incidentally, is to put on my lower shelf. I take trays like a sheet pan or a cocktail tray or something. You get a lot of these school trays and things that you get, and put it in there, and you can pull that in and out, like a slide, so that stuff on those shelves don't get lost in the back. So that's something that you can do. But I think if you treat leftovers properly, when I do my prepping now, even I live by myself, but every meal I do when I have to prepare something from start to finish, I do it for either 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 portions. And what I do is sometimes I'll freeze one, I'll eat one that night, and then I'll eat the second one sometime like 2 days hence or whatever. And it's a great way to do it because it's the same effort, but it saves you, a lot of time when you come, have dinner, especially if you like it and you can cook. You have to be able to cook in the first place. Then you also make sure you want to store leftovers. I think a lot of times sometimes we put them in bowls and put something over them, and you know they're there. So it's always best to store it in glass bowls or something, so you can see, you can see through it, see what's inside, and that way it doesn't get lost. So that's another way of doing it. So another thing to do, which I do myself, is called to dedicate a leftovers night, and that means you just take all the leftovers that you've had and you sort of pool them all together in one guise or another, and sometimes you come up, with a nice meal. But again, the preparation for it is very simple. Just taking what you have and mixing it either hot, cold, add mayonnaise to it, heat it, or just mix with broth or whatever. And I think another thing is, when you're cooking, if those who work, who go out to work or something, where they have a lunch the next day, is again, whatever you're preparing, just take a small portion out and use that for lunch the next day. So again, you're multitasking in a sense on that. Then you think of leftovers as being ingredients, not leftovers. In other words, they can serve another purpose. They can be mixed, with something else. You can even make a soup out of things very simply. Take whatever you have and just put it in a blender. It could be a melange of vegetables. It could be a lot of other things. And all you do is, put in the blender, beat it up, and add a little chicken stock or beef stock to it that you can buy very readily in containers. You can make your own as well. And that sometimes makes a very nice soup. The vegetables give you a little viscosity and, a little body to the soup. And, with a good loaf of bread or a salad or something makes a very nice meal. For those of you that are into cooking things or doing stock, another thing is to keep a sort of a bag or a plastic bag in your refrigerator. And when you slice onions, you cut the front and back of an onion, or you take any other vegetables or things that are left over, or you trim, and just take them, throw them in the bag in the freezer. Then when that bag gets full, at some point down the line, take it out, add some water or some chicken stock, and you develop your own soup of vegetable stock. With the ends of celery or whatever it is, they don't go bad, and it's it's something, again, for those of you who enjoy cooking, to take something which is free, free vegetable stock. So those are all different ways. Now you wonder, why did I bring up the two? Well, the nexus between them is next week, what we'll do is do a segment on the difference between a frittata, quiche, and a strata. And those are all egg dishes, as you would know. So was why we talked about eggs. And they are also a super vehicle for leftovers. And there are very many combinations that you can have by putting things in omelets into a frittata. And so we'll discuss all those things next week. So I'm egging you on to take care of your leftovers and get back to eggs again. So over to you, Marky.
All right. Well, I got a little faked out. We discussed today's show. The eggs were going to be the stars. So my segment is egg related, and we'll consider that a preview of what's to come. Thinking about some egg beverages. So starting with the egg cream, which does not contain eggs. Traditionally made in Brooklyn, and it is made with either milk or whole cream, with traditionally Fox's You Bet chocolate syrup, and then very cold soda water. And you're almost doing a cold version of a cappuccino to a certain extent, insofar as you're agitating the milk. But in this case, you'll be using a fork to agitate the cold milk, while you're adding your soda water to it, which turns it into it was essentially a homemade soda, very much akin to an Italian soda, except with the added agitation factor. Thinking about actual egg cocktails, to make a proper amaretto sour or whiskey sour, you want to use egg whites. And the key to using egg whites is doing the dry shake, because if you do your egg whites with ice initially, it's going to dilute them. So you want to do about 10 to 15 seconds in your shaker of just your egg whites or egg whites ingredients, and then do your shaker with ice in it. And you can do that. Makes a great addition to the New York sour, of course, the classic Pisco sour, which you can then garnish with bitters on top. And you're just getting a wonderful frothiness from the yolks. You know, almost the way when you're making meringue or anything like that, it adds creaminess and body to your cocktail. And then the final category of egg cocktails, well, two final categories. First of all, eggnog, which is your condition in which you're going to be doing both the egg white and egg yolk. And same kind of deal. You want to get your egg whites to be all foamy and delicious to give body and finesse to the eggnog, and you're using your egg yolks for flavor. But there's also a traditional cocktail, which is called the flip, that also uses a whole egg. And those are generally made with spirits or fortified wine. And you're going to do the same kind of dry shake with your egg, but in this case, you are using the whole egg. And this, of course, I think eggs are pasteurized these days, but I'm certainly more inclined towards an egg white cocktail than a whole egg cocktail. That's not really my thing, but flips go back to the 19th century. It's a very classic cocktail. So we will continue, as Dad said, egging you on.
The other egg thing that you use for a lot of your drinks, where you put salt or sugar on the rim, is doused in a little bit of egg white, so it sticks to it too. So
yeah, you can do that with egg white and or citrus juice. So this has been another episode of Cooking with Big Mark. Thank you for joining us.
Very well.